The difference between revenge and justice is mathematics. Revenge is emotional. Justice is the sum of evidence, multiplied by precision, divided by time. The Christmas party at Ashford Partners thrummed 42 stories above Manhattan, a symphony of wealth played in minor keys. Violins wept into champagne flutes. Crystalline laughter fractured against floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park's winter darkness. I moved through the golden light, a silver tray balanced on my palm, carrying my famous cranberry tarts and a bottle of Veuve Clicquot that cost more than my first car. My name is Illara Prescott. I am 35. I see patterns in chaos. I find vulnerabilities in systems designed to be impenetrable. For 15 years, I have built fortresses of code to protect $847 billion in assets. My husband, Marcus, called my genius essential but boring. I needed air. The service elevator carried me down to the main lobby, a cathedral of marble and silence. The party was a distant hum. I stepped out, my heels whispering on polished stone. The executive elevator's doors slid open directly before me. Inside, my husband, Marcus Prescott, had my best friend, Willow Chun, pinned against the mirrored wall. Her hands were tangled in his hair. His mouth was on her throat. Her Chanel No. 5 perfume, the scent she'd worn since our Stanford days, mixed with his Creed Aventus, the cologne I'd chosen for our 5th anniversary. The chemistry was a brutal, familiar alchemy. They weren't kissing. They were devouring each other. And the hunger in it was old. Practiced. The tray slipped from my hands. The tarts hit the marble and exploded. Crimson filling splattered like a violent prophecy across white stone. They broke apart. Marcus's face drained of blood. Willow turned, her chin lifting, her dark eyes narrowing into something cold and dismissive. "Illara," she said, her voice smooth as poison honey. "Don't be dramatic." It was a moment of holiday weakness. The stress. Her lie was so effortless it stole my breath. This was not weakness. This was routine. Marcus stepped toward me, hands raised. "Sweetheart, we were discussing the Apex launch. The pressure, we lost our heads for a second." I looked at the man who had sworn to cherish me, who whispered love into my hair in the dark, and I felt something fundamental lock into place. A vault door sealing shut. "Do not touch me," I said. My voice was quiet, absolute. He froze. He saw the change. The woman who cried was gone. In her place stood the architect. I turned and walked back to the service elevator. I pressed B7, the sub-basement server floor. My sanctuary. As the elevator descended, I stared at my reflection. A woman in an emerald dress he'd unzipped just last week. Lipstick the shade he loved. Hair he'd run his fingers through. I looked like a wife. I was about to become a weapon. The server floor was a crypt of cold air and blinking lights. I went to my private terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard. Shock had been replaced by a crystalline, surgical focus. I needed the architecture of my betrayal. First, the client verification protocol. My life's work, a cryptographic masterpiece worth $420 million, nominated for patents in 17 countries, supposedly co-owned through the Family Growth Trust. Marcus's idea. 3 years ago. "Let's build our empire together. Darling." I pulled up the trust documents. My eyes scanned the legalese. Subsection 4.7.2. All intellectual property became subject to the sole managing trustee's discretionary control. Marcus was the sole trustee. I had built the empire. He had stolen the deed. The access logs told the rest. 14 unauthorized entries by Marcus's credentials over the past 6 months. The last one, December 23rd, 11:47 p.m., the night He told me he was running final partner simulations. He hadn't just accessed the CVP. He downloaded it, extracted it, stolen it. My hands didn't shake. My mind was a scalpel. I accessed my deepest vault, a ghost file encrypted with a signature only my biometrics could unlock. The original watermarked CVP, my insurance policy. Within it slept the silent siren, my masterpiece within a masterpiece, dormant code, embedded so deep it was invisible to all but a forensic cryptographer. Benign, patient, its purpose. If the CVP was ever deployed on an unauthorized server, the siren would awaken. It would perform a complete forensic audit, IP addresses, credentials, timestamps, and transmit the evidence to 3 secure locations. A lock that recorded the thief. My husband had stolen from me, systematically, deliberately. The question wasn't why. It was what he planned to do with it. And I knew. They were leaving Ashford, founding Apex Solutions. They would launch my technology as their own. I had 40 minutes before the kitchen's staff reported me missing. I worked. First, I activated my ghost company, Cypher Aegis Holdings, an offshore shell, clean and untraceable. Second, I uploaded the watermarked CVP to the International IP Registry. I filed an unlisted, time-stamped declaration of ownership. The timestamp, 12:13 a.m., December 24th, 26 minutes before Marcus's final thieving access. The legal foundation was set. I owned it first. Third, I armed the silent siren. I configured its destinations. The encrypted server of retired IP attorney Alastair Finn, a man whose integrity was granite, my personal triple encrypted cloud vault, the secure submission portal of the Financial Regulatory Authority. The trap was built not with rage, but with mathematical elegance. At 1:47 a.m., I left. I stepped over the dried, pathetic remains of my cranberry tarts and walked into the freezing December night. I drove to Alastair Finn's townhouse. He answered in a robe, holding eggnog, his sharp eyes missing nothing. "Ilera," he said, "what's broken?" I told him everything. The elevator, the trust, the theft, the siren. I showed him the evidence, the logs, the timestamps, the watermarked code. He set down his glass. "You've built a courtroom in cyberspace. But going to war with your husband, are you certain?" "He wasn't my husband in that elevator," I said, my voice flat. "He was a thief with a key to my vault. My hurt doesn't make me stupid, Alastair. It makes me precise." A slow, grim smile touched his lips. "Then let's make him bleed." The first move was a freeze. Alastair filed an emergency motion, locking the assets of the Family Growth Trust due to suspected fiduciary irregularities. Marcus would panic. Panic makes mistakes. I moved to a safe, anonymous apartment. I didn't answer calls. I archived every message. Willow's texts were a timeline of guilt. December 25th, "We should talk. It wasn't what you think." December 28th, "You're overreacting. You always were too intense." December 30th, "Marcus is worried about your mental state." We all are. The gaslighting campaign had begun. Meanwhile, Apex Solutions' launch date was set, January 10th. They were touting a revolutionary proprietary security protocol. My protocol. So I crafted my counter-narrative. I didn't post emotional pleas. I reactivated my LinkedIn and published a series of dense, brilliant technical papers on cryptographic watermarking and IP forensics. I reminded the world who the true expert was. By January 5th, my professional authority was unassailable. The whispers about my instability now sounded like jealousy. On January 8th, he came to my door. Marcus in a Brioni suit, wearing concern like a cheap mask. "We need to talk. Ilera. This is spiraling." He pushed past me. The familiarity of the violation was its own proof. You're destroying yourself, he said, pacing. These accusations, the professional community is talking. They think you're having a breakdown. His voice dropped to a false, intimate whisper. I want to help you, but I need the encrypted drive from your personal research. For the client transition, be reasonable. He thought I was broken, desperate. He thought he could still manipulate me. I went to my bedroom. I retrieved the drive, containing nothing but old photos and tax documents. My past digitized. I handed it to him. His relief was palpable. He smiled his winning smile. This is smart. This is the right choice. He turned to leave. Marcus, I said softly. He glanced back. That drive holds every memory I have of us. I said, I hope they're worth what you're about to lose. For a second, doubt flickered in his eyes. Then arrogance smothered it. He left, satisfied. The thief had taken the final, worthless trinket. He never saw the vault door closing behind him. January 10th, Apex Solutions launched with a slick virtual event. At 9:18 p.m., my monitoring alerts flashed. The CVP code was being uploaded to Apex's primary server. The silent siren awoke. On my screen, I watched my beautiful patient code come to life. It didn't attack. It observed. It recorded. It collected IP addresses, Marcus's login credentials, timestamps, a perfect, unassailable chain of evidence. Then it transmitted. The data flowed to Alistair's server, to my vault, and most crucially, to the FRA's submission portal, accompanied by a forensic dossier detailing the entire theft. The trap was sprung. 2 days of silence followed. 2 days of their celebration. On January 12th, Willow's final, gloating text arrived. P.S. Your code works beautifully. Thanks for the wedding gift. I forwarded it to Alistair. It was the confession we needed. January 15th, 10 a.m., the FRA Certification Committee meeting. Marcus and Willow stood in a sleek conference room, poised before the 8 most powerful regulators in finance. Their presentation slides gleamed. They were moments from securing the approval that would unleash millions in funding. Marcus began his pitch. What we've built is not just a protocol. It's a new paradigm. The doors opened. Alistair Finn entered, followed by Dr. Catherine Liu, the FRA's legendary head of forensic audit. The room chilled. My name is Alistair Finn. I represent Cypher Aegis Holdings. I am here to file an immediate criminal complaint for intellectual property theft and fraud against Apex Solutions, Marcus Prescott, and Willow Chun. Marcus laughed, a nervous, brittle sound. This is absurd. My ex-wife is unstable. She's fabricated. Sit down, Mr. Prescott, Dr. Liu said. Her voice could cut diamond. She placed a folder on the table. 3 hours ago, my team completed a forensic audit of the code you just attempted to certify. It contains a digital watermark and a forensic beacon registering it as the property of Cypher Aegis, filed on December 24th. The beacon also recorded its unauthorized deployment from your server on January 10th, under your credentials. Willow's face went chalk white. The evidence has been forwarded to the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI. Alistair said calmly, your assets are frozen. Your firm is suspended. You are both detained pending arraignment. The silence was absolute. The empire of lies had collapsed in a single sentence. Marcus looked toward the door, as if expecting me to walk in. To save him. To be the wife he remembered. But that woman was gone. The fall was swift and public. Apex Solutions founders charged in $420 million IP theft scheme. Bloomberg blared. The details were delicious. The 18-month affair, the stolen trust, the systematic theft. The FRA permanently barred them. The investors sued. The U.S. attorney filed criminal charges carrying a maximum of 20 years. Alastair handled the divorce. Infidelity, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty. I received full ownership of the CVP, the penthouse, and a settlement that made me a very wealthy woman. Marcus pleaded guilty. He got 12 years. Willow fought it. She got 15. 1 year later, I stood at the podium in Geneva addressing the International Cryptography Congress. The room held the world's best minds. They listened to me. The silent signature isn't just a tool, I said, my voice echoing in the hushed hall. It's a philosophy. True security doesn't shout. It waits. It remembers. And when the thief comes, it offers not resistance, but proof. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, a journalist asked the inevitable question. Ms. Prescott, do you feel your actions were revenge? I smiled. It was a calm, sure smile. Revenge is emotional. What I delivered was a forensic audit. He gave me betrayal. I gave him evidence. He gave me heartbreak. I gave him mathematics. It was never a fair fight. I left the stage. Outside, winter sunlight glittered on Lake Geneva. I was no longer Alara, the betrayed wife. I was Alara Prescott, architect of the silent signature, builder of unbreakable things. My heart, once shattered, had reformed, not softer, but stronger, tempered, a vault of my own design. And inside, it was finally perfectly silent. If you've made it this far, you understand the power of a silent signature. Respect is non-negotiable. Your worth is not defined by someone else's betrayal, nor by the lies they spin to justify their theft, whether it's your trust or your life's work. My story proves that the quiet mind is the most powerful weapon. Patience is the architect of consequence. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who's been gaslit into invisibility. Tell them, your silence doesn't make you weak. Your analysis doesn't make you cold. Your precision makes you unstoppable. Subscribe for more stories of turning calculated patience into absolute victory. The revolution happens when you decide to write the code for your own ending,